very excited to introduce you once again to my mother, Joanne Dodge.
Tonight's topic is growing old. If you aren't there yet, you'll appreciate knowing in advance what you'll be facing, and feel free to take notes. First of all, let's examine the meaning of old. You're old when your sweetie says, "Let's go upstairs and make love," and you answer, "Pick one, I can't do both." You're old when going browless pulls all the wrinkles out of your face. Getting a little action means you don't need to take any fiber today. Getting lucky means you find your car in the parking lot. And an all-nighter means not getting up to go to the bathroom. I have a friend and her husband, they're both in their 90s, and even though he's in a wheelchair, he's still pretty frisky. My friend said they still fool around almost every day. Almost on Monday, almost on Tuesday. You won't believe what I'm going to tell you. I was having lunch with my friend Lorraine the other day, and I noticed that she had a suppository in her left ear. I looked at her and I said, "What the hell have you got in your ear?" And she said, "Well, what is it?" And I said, I thought maybe she had a new cure for an earache or something like that. And when I pointed it out, she said, "Now I think I know where my hearing aid is." So many of my friends are now living in nursing homes, so I spend a great deal of time visiting. Just the other day, I went to see a friend, and the strangest thing was happening. A little old lady was running up and down the corridor, and every now and then when she got in front of a man, she'd pull up her nightgown and say, "Super sex." So she ran around again, she came around this other guy, and she pulled up the nightgown and said, "Super sex." And he looked at her for a while, and he says, "I think I'll take the soup." There's got to be something in the water in those nursing homes. One woman came running in with her fist clenched, and she says, "I'll have sex with any man here that can tell me what I've got in my fist." And one of the old guys in the corner just shouted out, "An elephant?" She thought about it for a minute and said, "Close enough." And then Mary and Charlotte were standing outside the nursing home having a cigarette, and it started to rain. So Mary reached in her pocket and she pulled out a condom, and she clipped off the tip of it and she put it up over her cigarette and continued smoking. And Charlotte just looked at it and said, "What is that?" So Mary told her it was a condom. And Charlotte said, "Where do you get something like that?" Mary said, "You can get it at any drugstore." So Charlotte went down to the drugstore and walked in and saw the pharmacist, and she says, "I want a box of condoms, please." And of course, he looked a little strange. He was in her 90s, but anyhow, he said, "May I ask, what do you intend to, what size is it that you're looking for?" And she said, "Well, anything that would fit on a camel." I was visiting the nursing home the other day. I met a new resident, and one of my friends said this woman was having trouble sitting up straight in her chair. She said she'd sit there and then she'd slowly lean over to one side, and she'd get her so far, and the nurses would come and quickly set her back up straight again. And then a few minutes later, she'd lean towards the other side. And this happened 3 or 4 times, and every time the nurses would come and straighten her out. So I went over to say hi and ask how she was doing, and she said, "I'm doing okay except for one thing. They won't let you fart in here." I realized my body was totally out of shape, so I decided to join an aerobics class for seniors. I bent, twisted, gyrated, jumped up and down, and perspired for an hour. But by the time I got my leotard on, the class was over. Everybody's into exercise today. Retirement is wonderful. You can only suck in your stomach for so long. And I've discovered that going braless does pull all the wrinkles out of my face. My stomach and my ass are in a race to see who can get to my knees first. The only reason I would take up walking is so I could hear heavy breathing again. And the only advantage of exercise is every day is when you die, they'll say, "She looks good, doesn't she?" Skinny people irritate me when they say things like, "Oh, I just forgot to eat." Now, I've forgotten my address, my mother's maiden name, my keys, but I've never forgotten to eat. You have to be a special kind of stupid to forget to eat. I was sitting out on the couch the other evening, and Jim came walking by. We were just looking up at the moon, and I grabbed his sweater, and I said, "I've been talking to some of my friends lately, and they have some romantic moments." He started to fall asleep. I told him, "Wake up. Used to be so romantic, Jim. You used to hold my hand." He reached out, and he held my hand, and he put his other arm around me. It was so wonderful. I said, "I remember how you used to nibble on my ear. It made chills just run up and down my spine." "Oh, please, Jim, nibble on my ear." He got up and started to leave, and I grabbed his sweater, and I said, "Where are you going?" He says, "You want nibbling? I got to go get my teeth." Charlie's 97. He went to the doctor and said he wanted his sex drive lowered. The doctor says, "You're 97. Don't you think your sex drive is all in your head?" Charlie says, "You're darn right. That's why I want it lowered." John was on his deathbed, and he gasped pitifully, "Give me one last request, dear." "Of course, John," she said softly. "6 months after I die, I want you to marry Bob." She was shocked. "I thought you hated Bob." With his last breath, John said, "I do." Something absolutely wonderful happened the other day. I was in the express line at the store, and completely ignoring the sign, a young woman pushed a cart right in front of me, and it was brimming over with groceries. Everyone standing in line was ready to beat up on her when the cashier looked into the cart and asked, "So which 8 items do you want to buy?" Miss Beatrice was the church organist, and one day the pastor came to call. When she went out to get some tea, on top of her organ, he noticed a fishbowl filled with water with a condom floating in it. When Miss Beatrice came back, he asked her to tell him about the fishbowl. "It's just wonderful. I was walking through the park a few months ago and noticed this packet on the ground. The directions said to place it on your organ, keep it wet, and it would prevent the spread of disease. Do you know I haven't been sick all winter?" I went to a new dentist last week. I saw his diploma, and the name reminded me of someone I knew in high school. The class had the same name, this guy. That was 50 years ago. I wondered if this might be the same boy that I'd had a crush on. But that couldn't be. This balding, gray-haired man with a deeply lined face was way too old to be in one of my classes. I asked him if he'd gone to Story High School. He said he had, so I asked when he graduated. 1960, he said. "Why do you ask?" I answered, "You were in my class." He looked at me closely, then that ugly, old, bald, wrinkled, fat-ass, gray-haired, decrepit son of a bitch asked, "What did you teach?" I'd like to share with you that a poem I say, prayer rather, I say every day. Lord, so far today I'm doing all right. I've not gossiped, lost my temper, been greedy, grumpy, nasty, selfish, or self-indulgent. I have not whined, cursed, or eaten any chocolate. However, I'm going to get out of bed in a few minutes and I'll need a little more help after. I'd like to leave you with, I really don't want to leave you, but I have to, with these words of wisdom. Don't worry when you get lost. Just change where you want to go. Growing old is something you do if you're lucky. You don't stop laughing because you grow old. You grow old because you stop laughing. And blessed are we who can laugh at ourselves, for we shall never cease to be amused. Thank you all so much.